additional learning needs. I'm going to started recording now, so keep your cameras off for us, keep your mics off, put any comments and so on in the chat side, and this is going to be put on the Work-Based Learning portal afterwards. If you want to refresh and look afterwards, that's fine. If you're watching as part of a group, just let Susan know for us so that she can get your name on the CPD log. So you're only going to see the names of anyone that's on the screen. So just let Susan know for us. And over to you, Dave, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Steve. I'm just going to share my screen if that's okay with everybody. Hopefully you can all see that. Yeah, so I'm just going to do a basic general overview of student services, just to refresh for anybody new that's in the college, and for anybody that's obviously not accessed student services either before or just needs a little bit of a refresher. So my name is David Bourne. I'm Group Student Engagement and Wellbeing Manager. My contact details are there, so if anybody's got any questions or any needs any advice or anything about student services, please feel free to just drop me an email or give me a call, and I'm more than happy to help. So our team in student services, that's a lovely picture of our manager, Denise Haney. She's the assistant principal, head of student services. So she manages the whole of student services, and she's also the designated safeguarding lead. So in student services, we have the safeguarding team, safeguarding wellbeing officers, college counsellors, student finance, student engagement, SBLD and learning support. I'm just going to give a little bit of a brief overview of each of these different areas, and sort of how you can access them, how students can access them, and sort of what the areas do in relation to work-based learning and apprenticeships. So I'll start with safeguarding. So obviously probably the most important thing what we do in the college is obviously safeguard all our students, make sure everybody's safe at all times. So Denise, as I said, is the designated safeguarding lead for the whole of NSCG. So her contact details are on there. We've also got 3 deputy designated safeguarding leads. So we've got Sarah Hicks at Stafford, Joe Lawton at Newcastle, and obviously the most recently acquired Wheat campus. I'm the designated safeguarding lead for there as well. We do cover during the holidays as well, so there'll always be one of us on campus on call that you can get in touch with. So don't worry if it's sort of out of term time and you need to speak to somebody. There's always one of us on hand. So just get in touch with us, and we can obviously help if you've got any sort of concerns at all. Obviously, campus-wise, related into if you learners based out of Stafford campus or Newcastle all week, then please try and contact the deputy designated safeguarding lead for that campus. Like I say, unless it's out of hours and it's and you need some help, then just get whoever the duty is. And obviously, if it's a really serious situation, then Denise is your person to go to as a designated safeguarding lead for the college. We also have the safeguarding wellbeing officers. So we've got lovely photos of them there. We've got the ladies based at Newcastle and Stafford. So what I'll do after this is I'll send these slides to Steve and Nikki, and I'll also put in the different areas what the safeguarding wellbeing officers cover. So if you've got a student that needs any support, if they're having some sort of any sort of mental health problems, or they are struggling at home, they've got problems at home, or they need to speak to somebody, then they speak to the safeguarding and wellbeing officers. So they support students with anything that affects the well-being, or if they're struggling to attend or got problems within the programme, and then these are the guys that support them. They've each got designated areas what they cover. So for example, if you'd got a student that was doing a sort of business apprenticeship, then we'd have a relevant safeguarding person for that. So you'd contact them and they can support. As I said, after this I'll circulate which areas each of the SWOs cover at each of the campuses, and then you'll have a sort of contact where you can get in touch with them. We also have a college counsellor at each side. So we've got Tim Copsey that covers Newcastle, and we've got Maria that covers Stafford. So if you've got any apprentices that need some counselling that you think could benefit from it, then you can always refer them to the college counsellor. I've got some one of the end slides as contact details, so of how you can do that. You can book appointments through the Safeguarding Wellbeing officers, or you can go through the student services help email, or just with one of the receptionists, and they'll be happy to do that for you. The council, they don't have to come into college for it. They can do it via Teams. They can do it over the phone. So if you're having apprentices, if they do need that support, there's ways and means of doing it and being able to get access to it. Referral process for safeguarding and wellbeing officers. So they have drop-in times if you've got apprentices that are in college Monday to Friday, then the drop-in times are there on the screen, so they can just come into student services and speak to one of safeguarding wellbeing officers. That's usually for if there's something that they need to speak to more urgently. If it's not urgent, then you can book appointments with safeguarding wellbeing officers. Again, with them being apprentices, they're happy to do Teams meetings or phone calls. So if they need to call them when they're on break at the workplace, they're happy to do that. It's absolutely fine. You don't need to be in college to access support, which a lot of the time I think has been a little bit of a barrier with apprentices, that they think they need to be in college to get their support. They don't. We're happy to be flexible and work around whatever's convenient for the students and the apprentice. Students, if you've got any students, apprentices that have got a safeguarding concern about something or somebody else, they can report them confidentially. It's on the portal of the student portal. It's on the front page of the student portal. There's a link to it, or that QR code there. They can scan that QR code and it'll take them through to a confidential reporting system. So that comes through to all the designated safeguarding leads. So if anybody scans that code and puts a report in, that drops through to myself, Denise, Sarah and Joe, and one of us will pick that up. So if you've got apprentices, so if you've got an apprentice that's working with a number of other apprentices from the college and they've got a concern about that apprentice, they can do a confidential referral through that. We won't go back and tell the person where this has come from, where we've had this information from. It'll purely be for us to follow up. So please share that with your students, that's something that they can do and they can access. Financial support, it's a bit of a contentious subject with apprentices, because there's not a lot that they can access financially, purely because they're classed as employed individuals, even though some of them obviously might not be on a great wage and have come from hardship. Unfortunately, because they're classed as employees, they can't access the college bursary. What some of our apprentices can access is the apprenticeship care leavers bursary. So if you've got a student that's been in the care system and they've now got an apprenticeship, they can access a bursary of £3,000. It usually gets paid in instalments to them, but it can also be given to them in a lump sum if it feels that that's applicable to them. So if they've been in the care system, anybody that's sort of had a social worker that's been in care as a youngster, as long as they're under 25, then they are eligible to apply for this. If you need to, if you think you've got any students, any apprentice that is going to be eligible for this, just contact the student finance team, and they can get that sorted for them. I think Terry's had one last year that accessed this. It's really useful for them. It just gives them a little bit of a buffer to sort of access things what they may need, either in their home life or work life or educationally. SBLD, if you've got any students that you think would like assessing for specific learning difficulties, or had exam concessions, if they need to sit any sort of exams and need support, you can contact Claire Williams, who's the administrator for the specific learning difficulty department. They can assess things such as dyslexia and dyspraxia. So if you've got any students that you think would benefit for that, please contact Claire and she can arrange an appointment for them and get that in place for you. Student engagement, which is myself and my colleague Georgia. Again, apprentices, they feel like they probably can't access this because they're not in college a lot. I think the tutorial newsletter has just started being shared with the apprenticeship team and to share with the apprentices. There's lots of useful information on there that even if they're not in college, there's stuff going on outside of college or things that they can access and get involved with. So if you could share the newsletter with your apprentices, that would be absolutely fantastic. We have had a few apprentices before that have taken part in like the Students' Union or become a student mentor, or come into college and helped us with open events and spoken to students. It's great if we can get people, because having people with sort of the lived experience of being an apprentice, it's great to have them being able to talk to the students about what it's like once they sort of leave school or college, what being an apprentice is like within the college. As staff members, we can tell them till we're blue in the face how great it is, but hearing the actual experience from actual apprentices is fantastic. If you've got anybody that wants to get involved and wants to sort of be part of Students' Union, Student Voice, attend student board meetings and give feedback, please let us know, because we're more than happy to take them. Again, they don't have to attend college. We can get them to the meetings on Teams and fit in around them. Some of you may also see that we do like the Student of the Month, so there's always an Apprentice of the Month. It's a fantastic thing to sort of get involved with, and if you've got a really good apprentice, send your nominations in for them, because they get invited into the core planning group with the principal and the senior management team, and get a bit of a fuss made of them. They get a £50 Amazon voucher, I think it is, and a certificate, and we tend to get the employees in there as well, that come and attend and listen to how fantastically well they're doing. Student mentors, again, I think we had one apprentice that was a student mentor that was helping us out, mentoring some of our students that perhaps suffering with low confidence or struggling with certain things. It'd be great to have more apprentices as student mentors, because obviously we've got apprentices that could do with support. So if we've got really good apprentices that can so be a mentor to other apprentices, and that'd be amazing. There's lots of enrichment activities that go on. I know obviously apprentices aren't in college all the time, but if they are in college, they're advertising the student newsletter and on the NSCG app as well, when these take place. They can also access things like cheap gym memberships and stuff like that. So it's really useful to give them the information. And these are just some useful links. So as I said about the NSCG app, there's the QR codes there. What if you've got your students can scan and they can access all the things that are on the NSCG app. There's also links there to the student essentials for Newcastle and Stafford. I think I sent these out to Nikki Warburton, so hopefully she's already circulated them. I've got one for Leek now as well, so I'll drop that in. I don't know if any of you are going to be covered Leek, but just in case you are, I'll drop that in as well when I send these slides out. The one there that says scan me for help and support, that's really useful to share, particularly with apprentices, because if you scan that QR code, it takes you through to the Mental Health Matters page of the NSCG website, and there's hundreds of support agencies that we link in with, and charities and things that they can access outside of their time in college if they need any support on a number of different topics. So again, please share that. Quite a few staff have that attached onto their email signature, which is really useful. And when you look at the data of how many people actually scan that app, we get thousands and thousands of students that scan that app. So it is really useful to share, particularly with apprentices that don't spend a lot of time in college. These are the contacts, so general student services contact numbers and email addresses that you can drop any concerns or queries to if you want to book counselling appointments for your students or access anything. Safeguarding and wellbeing officers can be accessed as well by phoning the generic student services number. And you've got the student finance details there as well. So like I say, I'll send these slides over, and then you've got all those contact details. But if anybody's got any queries or questions, you're not sure where to direct it to, then just you can always come through myself, and I'm more than happy to direct it or give you advice on it. And that's it. Thank you very much. I haven't covered learning support because obviously Terry's going to cover that because she's much more of an expert on it for me. But if anybody's got any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them now. Or if you want to just contact me and drop me an email and ask anything, then I'm more than happy to do that as well. Thanks very much, guys.
Has anyone got any questions for Dave before I move on? Nope. Nope. Right. Okie dokie. My part of this is pretty much a refresher, really, of what we've done before. A few more bits and bobs involved that maybe we haven't touched on before. So apologies if people have seen this before and you're thinking, oh, she's already told me this. Some of it's a bit of a refresher. Some of it's some bit that you might not have come across before. So I think most of us are now aware really of sort of my role and the team I work with. So there's myself obviously in this as LST for the area, and we've now got 2 LSAs that also help me with the support that we're going to provide for all the apprentices that are coming through. Our role basically is to support any apprentices with a need. So it could be that they've got a care plan, it could be that they've got diagnosed dyslexia. We support students who haven't got diagnoses as well. So again, we can pretty much support whoever you would like us to. The support, as most of you will know, can be done in college. Some of the support sessions, particularly one-to-ones, can be done on Teams. Depending on the location, we can go into the workplace. So we currently do all 3 of those between me and the 2 LFAs. Generally, we would cover in theory sessions, not so much practically, but if you do feel there's an issue with a practical session that you want support with, please get in touch. More often than not, if it's a practical apprenticeship, so engineering, joinery or whatever, they probably wouldn't need a lot of support in practical because that's where they've got the knowledge. But we've supported in practical before where they've then had to obviously, complete booklets, etc. So we have supported in theory as well. I'm going to discuss the exam referrals and screening tests, and I'm going to go on to talk about EPA support as well. It's not moving. Why is my screen not moving? Bear with me a sec. I seem to have froze. Oh, there we go. Apologies for that. Because that pretty much sums up what I've just said. Some of these slides have got a lot of words on them, so I'm not going to read everything. I'm going to obviously give you some time. Like Steve said, it's going to be on the shared areas if you want to go back and have a look. So we can support students with dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD. We've got autistic students. Quite recently, we've had quite a few students who have been coming through with anxiety or mental health needs. Again, we're more than happy to support with that. Can be one-to-one inside the class, outside the class. Okay, and part of the support we offer really is we try not to be there to do everything for them. We need to try and get students to create some level of independency, because obviously, when we get to EPA stage, we can't be there and do everything for them. So we do need to prepare them and, and be as independent as they can. I know we had a session on this recently, so I'm not going to go into this in too much detail. We've got more and more students coming through with care plans. It is a legal document, so if we do have a student that comes through with a care plan, we should really be offering some support to them, unless that student doesn't want it or anything like that. It comes through the local authority. Generally, they wouldn't start as an apprentice and have care plan. It would be something that would be in place for quite a while before. The local authority, if they're transitioning from high school to college or from high school to an apprentice, the local authority will have contacted the college and ensured that we are the right provider for them and that we can offer the support they need. So more often than not, if we've got someone with a care plan, we need to do whatever we can to support that young person. There is a link on there for a video. I was going to play it for you, but it's about 4 minutes. So, you know, if you get a bit of time at the end of this, it's there. It's quite useful. Like I say, we will often be named in the care plan. So if you know, when a young person transitions, so we've had quite a few come through, and we're aware that we've been made aware from the local authority that, you know, we've got a student or an apprentice starting with a care plan, and we need to meet their needs. And again, the care plan will give you all the information of what their needs are, the strategies, you know, and how we can help them. But we do have a duty to support someone who has got a care plan. Again, this is a lot more information about care plans. I've tried to pick out some of the things that I thought were quite important from this. So appropriate support needs to be put in place. Again, that'll be something that me and the team will look at doing. Again, promoting independence for that young person. We need to make sure that we're reviewing the support, and we need to be adjusting it if necessary. So, you know, that's one of those things. Sometimes it can be a bit of trial and error. So we need to see, you know, how that young person's getting on in that class, if what we're doing to support is working. If it's not working, we need to go back and review that and see what we need to do to make sure we are meeting their needs. And like I said already, you know, the local authority will keep in contact with us as a college, and I will be completing reviews every 12 months with that student. So, and I know we talked about this before, but you would know that apprentice probably better than myself. So, you know, when it comes to doing reviews, you know, it's really important we've got a really good approach between us. So I would be coming to you to ask for some feedback, you know, to see how about the progress they're making, and if they are meeting their targets that are on their care plan. I've just put this on an example of some of the things that you would perhaps see on a care plan. The care plan's always got the main need. So it could be social, emotional, it could be communication, interaction. And then obviously we've got some milestones on there, and they're the things that obviously, you know, we would need to try and be encouraging the young person to make progress on. And again, a lot of that is obviously down to the way we support them. But again, I think it's important that we all sort of work together and do that. We did these profiles when Ofsted were in, and the feedback I got was I think they were quite useful. So we're going to continue to do that. They are constantly a work in progress. So if you haven't had one for a while, that's something that we're currently working on. They will give you the needs of that young person. If you were, I'm sure you'd already be aware of that. But I think the most important thing for some of you would be the teaching strategies on there. So, you know, what sort of strategies can help that young person to make progress. So if there's anybody in particular that you haven't had a profile for that, you know, you quite urgently need, let me know. We can sort of put that on the list of priorities, but we are currently working through those profiles as we speak. Assessments and referrals. So I know that Dave just mentioned the SPLTD. They're absolutely amazing team. If anybody sort of, you know, come across them, I do a lot of referrals for them that have generally come from assessors. So the main thing for me is, that's moved. The main things for me is that I do a lot of exam referrals for you. So it could be that exam support is needed in maths and English. It could be that your apprentice has had a previous reader, scribe, extra time in exams when they did GCSEs or at school. If that's the case, you need to let me know, and I need to get a referral put through so we can continue with that exam access. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a massively quick fix, especially at this time of year. So the SPLTD at this time of year are incredibly busy. As you can appreciate, they've got thousands of new students. If you have got an exam coming up fairly quickly, I would suggest you let me know as soon as possible. So the other slides are going to give you a bit more information of the process there. But in terms of myself, if you've got someone who you think perhaps you've noticed, you know, some of the work that they're submitting, you know, that so something doesn't sit quite right with it, you're more than welcome to drop me an email and I can look at doing a screening test. The screening test won't give a diagnosis of dyslexia. but it will highlight potential support that's needed. I've put a little bit of a screenshot on there for you. So that was a screening test I did with an apprentice, and as you can see, specifically on this test, it recognised that this person's spelling was quite weak. So it gives me something to work on, and then we can obviously use that when we're looking at strategy to support that apprentice. And this screening test is also really useful when I do an exam referral, because it's another form of evidence. So exam access. Again, if you feel you've got anybody that's had previous exam access and that needs continuing, please let me know. I refer that to the team. The team are very good. They obviously recognise it's an apprentice, and they would look on their timetable and see what day they're in college. And they would, if they're in college, obviously, and they would organise the assessment for their college day if this is applicable. I do apologise that sometimes may impact maths, English, other lessons that are going on. But it's obviously, as you can appreciate, quite hard to get apprentices to come in. So the team would look at their college day, and that's probably going to be the easiest. I'll have provided them with the information they need. They'll do the assessment, and then they will make the decision on what access exam support has been granted. It could be extra time, could be scribe, rest breaks, prompts, separate room, reader. Okay. What you'll find is that if you ask me to do an exam referral, I will quite often email you back and say, can you complete a normal way of working form? They generally will not complete the exam access until they've got this. They like to see this because what we are then giving the team is information of their normal way of working. It is a 5-minute form. It doesn't take very long. It's often, I might not always ask assessors. I might sometimes ask the tutor. So if they're coming in once a week for engineering, I might ask one of the engineering tutors because they might see them more regularly. But if I send you this form, if you could get it back to me as soon as possible, that again will speed the process up of getting some exam support in place. I'm not going to go through that in too much detail. It's there for you to see. But this is the process for exam access. I think the most important thing for you really is to just let me know, and I do most of the other things for you. And the only thing I'll probably ask you for is a normal way of working form, which I've just mentioned, and a Form 8. If one of your apprentices has come in and they've said to you, oh, I got a reader when I was at high school, if we can encourage them to try and locate the Form 8 from that education setting, that really speeds up this process. The SPLD team would normally contact the school or the prior education setting and ask for that Form 8. So if the apprentice can get hold of that themselves, it makes this whole process a lot quicker. That Form 8 basically is a document outlining what support they've had. So it's really useful. So if you could encourage any apprentices who have had previous exam support to get that, that would be great. If not, don't worry, it's something the team can do. But obviously, if we need something doing fairly quickly, the Form 8 is really useful. EPA access arrangements. Some of you may be aware that we can also offer support for EPAs. Again, it's very dependent on the apprenticeship. So, for example, if your EPA involves a knowledge exam and that apprentice has already been awarded a reader or extra time, that should follow through into the EPA. There are forms that need completing. Emily's amazing and she will help us all with this. I'm more than happy to help you complete the forms. I will get any evidence that we need. And again, I would give yourself at least 2 to 3 months prior to EPA. Just so that gives Emily time to send any referrals over to the awarding body. We've done quite a few EPA supports now. It's becoming more of a regular thing. I've supported, I think, about 3 or 4 actual practical EPAs now. So I've been there, gone on site with the students. I found it's been really beneficial. It's something that we continue to do, and I'm presuming it's going to continue to grow. But like I say, if you do feel that you've got a student that needs EPA support, please get in touch with me and Emily as soon as possible, and we can get the process in motion. We've been here, done this one before. This is the form that if you want support with your apprentices that you would fill in the green part, send it to me, I'll do the rest. Obviously I'll get all the information done and dusted for funding. As soon as we start supporting an apprentice, and as soon as they are on Smart, you will see the feedback goes on there. So you can use that feedback for reviews. You'll be able to see that, you know, how often we're supporting, what sort of things we're doing. As we're supporting apprentices, we often would look on Smart ourselves and look at targets that you've put on reviews. So unless you've contacted us, you know, and said we need you to work on this particular task with such and such a person. So if we're doing a one-to-one with someone, I would often look at the review and see what targets they've been set and work towards those targets. Further information about AAL is all on the portal. I know you've had some really good training from Laura, who is absolutely amazing. If anybody's missed that, I know it's all on the portal. So if you want to go back and have a look, it's all there. And finally, care plan learners and exemptions for maths and English. So we've seen more and more of these coming through. This was something that was very much sort of pushed when I first started in the role. I think my manager wanted it to be very clear that, you know, we have apprentices coming through who practically could be absolutely outstanding, but, you know, perhaps their maths and English, you know, aren't what we would perhaps always, you know, haven't got that grade 4. So we can exempt care plan learners from maths and English. That's something I will do. So if you've got a learner coming through, you know, they've got a care plan, you perhaps think that maths and English on top of all the work they're going to be doing for you is going to be too much, speak to me, we'll have a chat and I'll get that done. I need to make it quite clear that, and Rachel Jackson will always sort of tell me this, and, you know, we need to share this, that just because we exempt them from maths and English, it doesn't mean they never do any maths and English again as part of their apprenticeship. We can exempt them and they can still attend maths and English classes. You know, we would strongly encourage them to do so. We would strongly encourage them to continue to work towards that functional 1, functional 2, maths or English, whatever it is they're working at. I know all apprentices are going to have access to Century. You know, as assessors, we need to be encouraging them to use that as well. So just because we exempt them from maths and English doesn't mean that they never do any more maths and English ever again. We do need to make sure that we're embedding this, you know, on their journey. The final thing on there really is that I can't exempt anyone from maths and English unless they've got a minimum of entry 3. So, you know, although we can exempt them from doing functional maths and English, they do need to come in with some level of maths and English. So they do have to have a minimum prior attainment of level 3. Okay. And we would probably need some evidence of that as well. Quick process if we're exempting a learner. So let me know. I need to speak to the learner. Parents, depending on your apprentice's age, I would need permission from parents if they're under 18 to exempt them. I then speak to Hilary, who is the coordinator. She gathers any evidence, and then we look at how we can continue to embed maths and English in their journey. It's quite a simple process. But again, if you've got any questions, or if you've got, I know we've got a couple at the moment who've got care plans and we're looking at exempting them. It is quite a simple progress. Just keep in touch, and I'll do it for you. But, you know, obviously it's really useful for you to know what the process is. I'm done. Any questions?
And if there's no questions or you want them later, just Terry said.
Or if you want to drop them in a chat or email me, that's great.
But huge thank you, Terry, and pass on to Dave. I think Dave's gone now, so
Dave's gone. Yes, yeah.
For that.
Dave's gone. No problem.
It's going to be on the Nikki's work-based learning CPD portal page. She's going to put it on there. Probably I'm going to get this week. So thank you for everyone for joining, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you. All right.
All right. Take care. Thank you.